telling stories.
Pavel, what has been your experience preaching in America on the campuses that you preached, and what did you think about them? How did you like them? What was your experience preaching to all the sinners here in America?
Well, nothing new under the sun. We know sinners are sinners, and we know the younger generation is very much brainwashed, and the brainwashing mostly comes from these institutions of higher learning and public education. So what I expected before I came here actually happened. The students I met at these campuses were really brainwashed and indoctrinated with these leftist, communist, progressivistic ideas, defending every kind of nonsense like abortion and transgenderism, evolutionism, all kinds of things which cannot stand even scientific or common sense scrutiny. And they defend these false ideas with great passion because they are young, they are zealous, they want to fight for some cause. That's what usually young people want to do. And because of their naivety and because of their life inexperience and probably families they grew up and society they are growing up right now, they defend completely nonsensical ideas and they tend to defend them almost to the point of violence. So I was not that much surprised, yet some things these students expressed in one-on-one conversations were really surprising to me or shocking to me. As an example, I could say maybe you Americans are used to these arguments, but I heard it for the first time when they told me completely with serious face that baby in mother's womb is a parasite, and they told me it's a scientifically proven that baby in mother's womb is a parasite, and as a parasite it hurts host organism, i.e. the mother, and therefore it's desirable to get rid of the parasite so the parasite would not keep hurting the mother. So this kind of reasoning is stupid to the highest degree. It's I doubt there is just one. I doubt that. I think there is nothing scientific about it. It would mean that every mammal species, every baby of every mammal species would be parasite as well. So it is really stupid. And when you show these students facts on the internet, like this American Association of pediatricians, and because the question if it's parasite when it becomes a human being, because it becomes somehow human being. When does it happen? I asked them where human life begins, and they didn't have any answer. They were not able to give any definitive answer. They have many different ideas about when the human life could begin, because they already abandoned reason and common sense and God, and so they are in the field of complete absurdity. So they were not able to answer this simple question when the human life begins. And when I show them on the internet that the majority scientific consensus is that human life begins at conception, they were not able to receive it. They saw it on my phone, that scientific article, but there was a wall through which those facts could not penetrate, because they are behind that wall, and they will not allow those facts to penetrate the wall, because then all their worldview would collapse, and they cannot allow it. So therefore they will keep repeating absurd things, or even double down on this absurdity, but they will never ever accept the truth unless something happens in their lives, or God intervenes, or reality hits them after they leave this bubble of this greenhouse where they are protected, and where everything caters to their feelings. And once they leave university and reality hits, hopefully some of them come to their senses, but it will not be probably without big cost in their lives, especially if you are transgender and you invested in this ideology so much as men are willing to cut their reproductive organs, and women, they are willing to cut their breasts or take hormones, puberty blockers. So when the reality hits, it will not be without pain and without cost. So despite them hating us at those universities to the point of violence which we experienced, physical violence or pepper spraying, or smoothies thrown at us and spitting at us, not to mention vile words which they addressed at us. But they don't realize we are their best friends, actually. But because they are blinded by Satan, they don't see it, and they think we are their greatest enemies. They call us Nazis and fascists, and they call for they like in NAU, Northern Arizona University, there was a guy. He was reading some sort of manifesto which they wrote the night before, and that manifesto was addressed at us, and they called for violence. They said that they have to resist people like us, these Bible thumpers, and they need to resist them even with violence. So these tolerant, rainbow tolerant people, they are willing to go to the extremes in order to defend their position, and not even defend. They don't want to be challenged, because they don't need to defend anything. They just don't need to listen to us. They can pass by us, but they stand next to us for hours, for 5-6 hours. The same people, they stand and they listen to us, argue with us, protest against us, and we are their target. We are their enemies. If we would be speaking about Snow Beauty or Zeus or some Greek gods, we would be proclaiming some Greek mythology and tell them, you must obey Homer and Ilias and Odyssey, you must read it and obey it. They would not be standing there for 5 hours. They would just laugh at us, and they would say, oh, you crazies, you funny. But because we preach God of the Bible, we preach Jesus Christ, we preach the truth, and they must know that God is, as the Bible says in the Romans chapter 1, that they are without excuse. They just deny the knowledge of God in their unrighteousness. So, yeah, that's a brief summary of my experience with these students. It's a sad picture, like these supposedly people who should be leaders or in business or in politics or in medicine or science. They are so indoctrinated. Of course, there are also students who are not liberal, who are not LGBTQ, who are not pro-abortion. There were some instances of such students who approached us, who shake our hand or said thank you for being here or God bless you. So I cannot speak if these loud communists and activists, if they are majority or minority, I cannot speak to it, but they are definitely the loudest ones. Any other question, brother?
Yeah, just let me see. What do you think about American food as the difference between in Czech?
I wouldn't say that it's much different. For me, what was new was Mexican food. We don't have Mexican minority there, so we don't, I say there are like individual Mexican restaurants in bigger cities, like 1, 2, which is like exotic food. It's not like we don't have fast food Mexican restaurants as long as I know. So this Mexican food was new to me, and still it's quite confusing because I don't know these Mexican names or Spanish names of those meals. I don't know what it is. So it's always kind of like blunt choice when I'm choosing something to eat there. I never know what I will get. And generally, I like the food. I cannot complain. I like the food, and it's not that different. You know, potatoes, meat, rice, beans, bread, butter, cheese, vegetables. That's what we need. What we eat as well.
Let me see. What would you say with the difference of? What's the difference of preaching between here in America? We talked about the campuses a little bit, but what's in just preaching? Because you went to Mardi Gras, you went to some of these different events. What would you say are some of the biggest differences when you went out and preached?
Yeah, so to me, the biggest difference is the law, First Amendment, freedom of speech, which is protected here in America by police. And that was like the biggest difference, because I would not be able to enjoy the same amount of freedom and police protection if I would do the same. I mean, I'm preaching in Czech in the streets, confrontational. I preach publicly against homosexuality, against abortion. But when it would come to a conflict with people in the street, I cannot count on police to defend my right to say what I'm saying. You know, and also because people here are aware of the law and are educated, and they know that as long as they oppose you verbally, they are okay. But once they touch you, they are in trouble. And it's clear-cut situation. While in Europe, somebody might attack me and police might come, but police might do nothing to that person and probably even tell me, hey, you provoke that person with what you said. So it was interesting because here you can argue with people quite passionately. You know, they can stand like this close from your face and scream and yell at you, but they will not attack you. They will not touch you. They will be aware that they will make sure that they are not putting their hands on you. In Europe, in my country, if it would ever go to the point that you are so close, face to face with someone, I think before you would get so close with someone, it would be already pushing and, you know.
So Europeans are more violent.
Not I don't know if more violent, but not so much, not so restrained by the knowledge that that if they would be the first one to lay hands on someone, they would be definitely seen by law enforcement and by everyone as as attackers, and they would be in trouble. In Europe, it's not like this. Yeah, so this was for me the biggest difference. The how police treats you at that campus, at those campuses we went to. Like, police was there, sometimes even waiting for us before we came, and they stood near us, nearby, observing all the situation for hours and making sure that all preaching and all interactions with the students will never cross towards violence, which was great because then you have more room to preach and more peace to preach, knowing that also those students are aware of police presence, and that police presence restrains them from doing something harmful to us, which I'm sure if police would not be there, or if street cameras would not be there, I'm pretty sure they would want to harm us in many, and sometimes they did, even despite all of these things.
So America's a good country to preach in.
Yeah, so far so good. You don't know how long it will last. You don't know how long the police will be able to keep this clear-cut line. Because if maybe next government, let's say next president after Trump will be Democrat or some liberal politician, and he will instruct police that they should side with these progressivists, or they should penalize, or I don't know, it's so, freedoms can be so quickly lost. Like, I'm formerly from communist country, and you can lose your freedoms, you don't even know how fast, and once you lose them, it's very difficult to get them back. So fight for your freedom of speech, freedom of religion. As long fight for them, because you might lose it quickly, and it's very hard to get it back. Yeah, because those dictators and those totalitarian regimes, they don't want to give up power, especially not through a democratic process. So yeah, you have a great privilege as American Christians to preach publicly, and you should use it.
What would you say to other people around the world that may be thinking about visiting America to preach or minister or something? Would you recommend it? What do you think?
Yeah, I would recommend it. Yet I think it's not necessary. But because God is the same everywhere, and Holy Spirit, He can inspire you and give you His power and unction and desire to speak publicly, openly, which was happening for centuries. There were people who were under the influence of Holy Ghost preaching publicly, regardless of persecution. Even in communist regime, even in Soviet Russia, there were some individuals who despite persecution, they open their mouth publicly. But if you are a foreigner and you watch YouTube and you got inspired by American street preachers, those types with bullhorns and big signs, and you have means to come to America, then I would recommend it. But I would say get in touch with someone first. Um, yeah. I mean, I could be here in America. I've been preaching since 2008, and I was inspired by American street preachers. Definitely, big inspiration for me. And I could come earlier, but I always thought it's like bringing wood to the forest. I was always thinking, why should I go to America to street preach there, when there are already enough street preachers? I thought it would be not economically wise decision to invest so much money preaching in America, while I could with those money preach in the countries or places where there are no Christians or very few Christians, no street preachers. So that was my philosophy. But I don't regret coming here. I spent 3 months here. It was a blessing, great blessing, to be able to work with you and other preachers. Or, I mean, I did where I was Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Ohio, Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana. So I preached at many different places with many different groups, and it's for me who I'm quite alone almost in Czech, although I have few brothers here and there who I fellowship with, and some of them are even willing to go out and preach with me on occasions. But it's very different when you come here and you preach with brothers who are actively involved in street ministry and have experience and are like-minded believers and have also the same or similar attitudes towards street preaching, like being like direct, confrontational preaching. So it was a good, refreshing and encouragement for my spirit. And yeah, so if anybody out there, foreigner, is inspired and would like to experience American street preaching, a street preaching community, yeah, come. But I suggest get in touch with someone.
Yeah, and
it's easier.
You first.
It's easier. It was easy for me because you invited me and you got me in touch with other brothers. So if I would be here on my own, it would be very different experience and probably difficult.
Yeah, you were originally thinking about coming for just a month, right?
Yeah.
And I had said that there's other brothers that'll take you in. You'll have a great time.
Yeah.
You'll be able to preach at Mardi Gras with some of the guys and really experience, and I think if you want to preach, and especially if you're single, it's time to get out there and go by faith and go somewhere else and preach.
Yeah, that's one great benefit of singleness, that you are not attached to a wife or you don't have responsibilities for wife and children. Basically, you can pack your bags and as long as you have finances, you can come over. And I didn't have much finances for 3 months, but somehow God worked things in a way that I was able to stay here 3 months and not to have lack of anything. So yeah, for single guys, definitely use your singleness for the glory of God. You know, you are single, you can work, save money, and instead of pouring those money to family and bills and houses and mortgages, you can just go and travel and preach the word and preach and distribute tracts, and you can do all kinds of things as a young single man, and you can enjoy it, and it's adventurous and experience many new experiences, new friendships. So yeah, I would for younger men I would definitely recommend it. Instead of being depressed at home somewhere lonely behind computer or behind the screen of your mobile phone, it's better to go out and see the world and, you know, taste good food and see different people, different landscapes, and at the same time, you know, be productive for the kingdom of God. Because even in America, many people are very ignorant. Even professing Christians here in America are very ignorant about what the Bible really says. That's other big surprise to me. You know, I thought like Christians here are biblically educated, but no. They probably don't read much Bible. And many of those professing Christians sided with those homosexuals and those leftists. They sided with them against us. In the name of the lovey-dovey Jesus.
What were some of the highlights of your 3 months here?
Highlights. Last week was great in Northern Arizona University. It was great. We have 4 hours. We have this crowd willing to interact with us. That was a highlight. Florida trip was highlight. Being able to do jail ministry was great. It was a completely new experience. I never did it before. And I knew American jail only from movies. You know, those movies. And now I was inside of American jail. And I was able to witness to those people who are imprisoned there. And I think God was using me, and pray with them through the bars, and it's definitely experience which I will remember for the rest of my life, and I don't know if I will ever be able to repeat it, but it's a completely different world behind the bars. Caged man in full strength, caged animals, not being able to do anything, just lay, read, and lay down, not being able to do anything. Depressing place.
Do you have anything else you wanted to say while you're on, or as an interview question?
Let me think. Yeah, Greyhound buses, traveling by Greyhound is a way how to save money on transportation here in America. Distances are big in America, and flights are relatively, depends, you can have some low cost airlines, but sometimes tickets, air tickets for airlines are expensive, but Greyhound buses are cheaper, not that comfortable, definitely not that comfortable, and time consuming travel. But my experience, surprisingly, everything was on time. Contrary to what I saw on YouTube, like horrible experiences of some travelers with Greyhound, everything was on time. One advice, if anyone wants to use Greyhound, spend extra $10, $7, depends on the distance or line, spend extra dollars for a seat in the front of the bus, then there is a bigger chance that you will be alone in those two seats, because poor people, they try to save those $10 and they get seats for which they don't need to pay extra, and so they are in the back of the bus, and then there it might be crowded, and so spend like extra $10 for better seat in the front, and there is chance that nobody will bother you, and you will have more space. So that's Greyhound. What else? Yeah, that would be too many things.
Yeah. I guess the last question is just, do you have any encouragement as far as other Christians or more for Christians that are thinking about being more bold or preaching? Encouragement to do that? What would, like Jed Spock would always say, who will rise up? What is your calling to rising up?
Calling to rising up. Just get out there. Don't be with your faith private person. Don't be hidden. Go out in whatever capacity. If you are a Christian, I think it should be your nature to want to go and testify to others about Jesus Christ. Nobody should like force you or persuade you. It should be your nature, and you should seek and desire yourself opportunities and seek for those opportunities and ask, how can you be used? Ask God, what shall I do? Use me. I'm here. Send me. So, maybe confrontational street preaching maybe is not for everyone, but if you will not try it, you will never know. And once you try it, you will learn that it's not so difficult as you might think. And more you do it, the better you get. And more you do it, you also will learn that those objections towards Christianity are mostly always the same. So you will learn how to answer those objections. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be direct. Thanks to Brother Dean, we had some quite offensive banners. So if you want to have an offensive banner, be prepared to defend it. So pray about it, and have your own message. Have your own message, because you will be in the position where you will have to defend it. And if you have a message you cannot stand behind, then it's probably uncomfortable. Not impossible, but maybe could be a little bit uncomfortable for you. So have your own message. What God lays on your heart. What you learn when you read the Bible. What do you think people need to hear? And speak up. Those heathens, they are not timid. They are not trying to tone down their anti-God message. So why should we tone it down? For whom? Why? As Reuben Israel used to say, if I remember correctly, he used to say that he would rather offend those sinners than he would offend God. And that was the same what I was telling to those students at Northern Arizona University when they were complaining about banner and it's offensive and blah blah blah. Yeah, so yeah, I don't really not know what else I should say to young people except be bold.